What is poppin', fight fans? And welcome to the Mystic Hour, episode 1. We've made it. This episode will be on streaming platforms after this on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. We're going to put it everywhere. You'll have the audio. Nick is going to be joining us shortly. Just want you guys to know the podcast will be on every streaming platform right after this. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And let's get straight into it. There he is. Little
Yep.
technical, little
You can hear me
technical
fine?
difficulties. Yeah, I hear you perfect. You hear me?
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
We're
Perfect.
good. Little
Loud and
technical
clear.
difficulties. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to block your face there. There's no way I was gonna block your face and just like not let you shine. Come on, come on.
You know what?
I could never do
I'm not gonna lie. That's the only picture that I like of my face, and it's because it's not real.
that. In the cartoon version. You're
Yeah,
cutting off
exactly.
a little bit. I don't know if your signal it's
Maybe.
slowing down.
Let me see.
Still can't hear you. There we
How
go.
about now?
Now we're good. Yeah, now you're good.
Yeah. Okay. All
You
right.
hear me? Perfect. All right, little
Yeah.
technical
Perfect.
difficulties. Little technical difficulties. Of course, first episode, that's where everything happens, and then we
Naturally.
recover. We recover from there. We're all good. So this weekend we had some good fights. We had Robert Whitaker take on Darren Till. We had Alexander Gustafsson make his heavyweight debut, and we had a superstar emerge out of this card. So off the bat, main event, middleweight fight that can be contenders for the title fight. Darren Till took on Robert Whitaker in a nice back and forth fight. How do you feel about that fight, Nick?
Well, I didn't feel like. I mean, I gotta give credit to Till because I mean he's just a dog. He doesn't back down. But I felt like that fight was just so overwhelmingly Robert Whitaker, and it took me by surprise because I actually had picked Till to win the fight, given that it hasn't been as big of a hiatus for him since he last fought compared to Robert. But I had that fight 4 rounds to 1. Dare I say even 5 rounds to 0.
To 0.
Yeah. Like, so
go ahead.
no, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say that. I mean, I'm glad that he did win though because I mean, as the #1 contender, you wanna obviously, you want to show that you're worthy of that title fight, and that's exactly what he did, and against a worthy opponent too. This isn't somebody at the bottom of the barrel that that he was able sort of like a stepping stone kind of fight. I mean, Darren Till is the man. So yeah, Robert Whitaker he's the real deal, and he's gonna get Adesanya or Costa, whoever wins between that.
Absolutely. I thought we would either see two different things. We would see a Robert Whitaker who still wasn't in love with MMA anymore, or we'd see Darren Till come in there and to show that he's a middleweight contender. Darren Till didn't look terrible. He still caught Robert Whitaker in that first round.
Right? Yeah.
Perfectly timed elbow. He didn't. It wasn't like a too big of a loss for him. He can recover from that.
Right.
And he fought somebody who was formerly the champion. So I think that Robert Whitaker definitely should fight the winner of the next of Adesanya and Costa. But we still got a guy in Jack Hermanson who wants to fight, and I feel like Robert Whitaker is a guy who likes to fight a lot and doesn't like to wait for fights. So in the meantime, let's have that fight go on rather than wait for the middleweight title fight, and then Robert Whitaker wouldn't end up fighting until like next year or something. But I think that Till maybe was a little timid with Robert, and he just was waiting for that perfect shot every time. But Robert was just mixing it up better than him. He took him down. He was moving around. He was in his face. He was just, he just was a step ahead of Darren Till. And we can't say anything bad about Till because he's fought the who's of guys. He's fought Tyron Woodley.
Yeah.
He's fought Jorge Masvidal. He's fought Kevin Gastelum. He's fought so many guys that are super tough and never look terrible against him. I know he got knocked out once by Jorge Masvidal, but in every other fight he didn't look terrible. And I still see Till still being in that upper echelon of that top 5 in the middleweight division.
No, definitely. I don't think that. I mean, as one-sided as I saw it, as far as the rounds went, I mean, it definitely wasn't a beatdown from Robert Whitaker. Like Till definitely held his own. He had some good moments there. But I mean, I think it was in the second round where the hiatus between total strikes was ridiculous. I think it was like 40 something to maybe 11 or something.
Almost a 10-8 round there.
Yeah, and But I think it's true what you're saying though. Like Till didn't give such a bad performance, so I definitely think that he should stay where he's ranked right now. And I actually would like to see him fight. I mean, I had thought about Hermanson, but Hermanson's not going to want to fight Till. Hermanson's going to want to go for a title fight, and I think the only way he gets there is through Whitaker. So I definitely would like
Absolutely.
to see that fight. And like you said, I don't think Whitaker wants to wait until the winner of that fight. I'm sure he's down to get in another one, especially if he's going to be going against somebody like Costa or Adesanya. You don't want to just go in there with just only one fight under your belt. You want to go there as prepared as possible. So,
Exactly.
so I think Hermanson, I would rather him go for Whitaker. I would love to see that fight. As far as Till, I actually wouldn't mind seeing a rematch with Kelvin Gastelum, or I even thought of perhaps even Yoel Romero, because I'd actually like to see Romero come back and fight somebody who I know is not going to just basically, even though Romero was the one that was sort of waiting for Adesanya to come in when they fought, but I think that that would actually be way more entertaining. Anything is more entertaining fight than Romero and Adesanya. But I think we'll see. We'll see
Unfortunately.
we'll see. Yeah, exactly. But we'll see the typical Yoel Romero that we would see before that, especially against a dog like or a gorilla, I should say, like
Really.
Darren Till.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got a lot of good fights in that top seven or eight in that middleweight division, and anything can happen. A lot of fights coming up, and it's going to decide a lot after the middleweight title fight. I feel like they're going to have so many options. Whoever wins between Costa and Adesanya, there's so many
Yeah.
options for them. In the
No.
co-main event, we had two legends fight against each other. I'm not going to delve too far into that fight, but
Right.
Nogueira ended up losing. This is the third time he's lost to Shogun, and he retired after the fight. I hope that he has a great afterlife after fighting. I hope he doesn't come back, because we don't need to see him come back.
No.
He definitely seems like he's like over the edge with fighting, and he's been fighting since the Pride days. Same thing with Shogun. Maybe Shogun, if he wants to have one kind of final fight, he can do that. But two
Right.
legends, they put on a fun co-main event, but we can definitely see that it's time.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm kind of sad for Nogueira because obviously, being 2-0 down to Shogun, it would have been nice for him to, especially knowing that this was going to be his last fight, to finally get that defeat over him. But I mean, uh, Hua was just too much for him, and it showed. And I guess sometimes too, people have more pressure when it's this wasn't like a I guess if you could say like the Verdum versus Gustafsson fight. Like this
Hmm.
wasn't like a bad blood between. And it's not that they have a bad blood necessarily, but the history is enough, I suppose, to
Absolutely.
obviously want to get that win more so than any typical fight. So it was sad that Nogueira didn't get it, but I mean, it's Shogun. What are you gonna do?
But yeah, great career to Nogueira for sure.
Yeah.
And I hope Shogun gets a last final fight before he retires. Or if he wants to go on some kind of a streak and get to a title shot, I won't be
Yeah, why
upset.
not, dude?
But yeah, do what you gotta do, Shogun. We love you.
There's a lot of
Uh,
older guys getting it done at this stage in their career, so why not him?
Very true. Very true. Yoel Romero is about 42 years old, and look at him. He's a different monster. That is just
Yeah,
a different kind of human being. I can't even compare those two. But
there's too many frijoles for him.
yeah, too. So we had Alexander Gustafsson make his heavyweight debut against Fabricio Verdum. There was a little bit of bad blood there. Gustafsson said he broke Verdum's nose. Verdum said that never
Mhm.
happened. Verdum had a lot to prove. It was his final fight on his UFC contract. It was Gustafsson's first fight since about a year and a half, him moving up to heavyweight.
Mhm.
And it went very different than I thought it would go. Verdum ended up submitting him in the first round with an armbar. Super quick. And Gustafsson is a
Yeah,
guy who's very hard to take down.
yeah, no, I don't think anybody. I mean, we were talking about it last week. I didn't think that. I felt that Verdum was being overlooked. I guess because of the excitement of Alexander coming back and everything. People perhaps lost sight of, the reason why has his name Vai Cavalo, which is go horse in Portuguese, and it just went to show that his age hasn't slowed him down one bit. And I think the fans overlooked him. I think maybe Gustafsson overlooked him. But it was weird because I feel that Gustafsson is putting this added pressure that is unnecessary. I mean, I understand that he hasn't gotten a win in some time and that he's desperate for one. But when you're in that sort of mental state where you're sort of like, you're thinking the what ifs, what if I lose this one? What if, like, if you're already thinking that before the fight, you're already lost. And I think that was a reflection of what happened here because I don't know. I see that he gets so emotional after these losses that, he takes it to heart too quickly. And I know that in the moment, it's going to hurt the most. But what's important or what's imperative is that you don't drag that on. You don't dwell on that loss. You just you learn from it and you move on. But I feel that he hasn't been able to detach that the loss from his last fight to the next one. And it's sad because I thought that at this new weight class he would perhaps excel. Maybe that's the fix that he needed, but clearly it wasn't.
Yeah, I thought that he would come in and move around, not get taken down by Verdum. He would just, have that really good footwork that he had at light heavyweight. I thought he'd be faster than Verdum. There's a lot of things that I thought that Alexander was going to do in that fight, but it ended up being shorter than I thought. Verdum looked very focused. You can see that from the beginning of the fight.
Yeah.
Usually he's playing around in the beginning of the fight. He's making those faces, he's making that monkey face, and just like kind of having fun with it, which is not bad.
Yeah.
But he just looked very ultra focused. Gustafsson, I don't even think hit him once. Verdum went for that takedown immediately. As soon as he had him on the ground and he had his back, Verdum is an ABC champion. This guy is a different level of a black belt. He has your back. That's pretty much over. Gustafsson tapped pretty quick as well, so he kind of knew he was in a bad position. But I felt like Gustafsson kind of did the Conor McGregor thing and just like, you know what? I don't feel like I want to cut weight. I just want to see how I look. I'm just going to go my natural weight and see what happens. He looks huge. We saw him in the weight.
Yeah.
He put those arms out, and I'm just like, you know what? He looks like a natural heavyweight. But I think that's probably not a good weight class for him, and he needs to drop back down to light heavyweight. I think that should be his next fight because he only lost to John Jones twice in light heavyweight. Anthony
it's John Jones.
And it's John Jones. It's not like he had terrible losses in that weight class. I get it. You fight for the title 3 times. You want to move up and do something completely different. But I think he goes back down to light heavyweight, gets somebody maybe in that top 10 because he's still ranked in the light heavyweight weight class. And what do you think happens with Verdum next? That was his last fight on the UFC contract. You think he goes to ONE FC, Bellator, he ventures off somewhere else, or he comes back and he resigns?
I mean, whatever makes most sense for him, but I definitely don't want him to retire because he shows that he still got it. Like physically, it doesn't look like maybe he does, but he proved it this weekend. Like I was gonna actually say that Gustafsson, it looked like the extra weight didn't help him at all. I thought that it would, but apparently it slowed him down. Whereas, like I said, Verdum, he hasn't really aged poorly. He still has a fight. So, I mean, at this point, I would say go for the money. You've had a successful career. If you get it more at Bellator or wherever else, just go for it because, I mean, you have nothing left to really prove. And but if you can come back to UFC, which is probably, how should I say this, more exposure, but at the same time, not a lot of people are going to be, I feel like, tuning in for him. So if he can go somewhere else and make more money, then I prefer that for him. But if he wants to stay in UFC, I'm totally down for that as well because he's an exciting fighter to watch.
Absolutely. I don't think Verdum had any money issues with the UFC, but I definitely know he can go somewhere else and make more money because he is a big name.
Of course.
He goes to any one of those organizations, he's going to be the top guy there, without a doubt. Especially with a record like he has and the people that he's beaten. I say if I was in Verdum's shoes, I go to Bellator and win another belt. He's won the UFC title already. He's had a Pride belt before. I don't think he won the Strikeforce heavyweight championship before, but Strikeforce is not an organization anymore. Why not go to Bellator, fight Ryan Bader, who's the heavyweight champion over there, take that belt and add on to your legacy. Keep beating these guys, and he'll just be known as one of the best fighters ever because if he stays in the UFC, he's going to have to climb that ladder again to get back to a title shot, and he's not on the younger side. Why not go to Bellator where they'll probably give him a title shot off the bat?
Right away.
Money. Right away, 100%. They'll give him a good amount of money. Go venture off somewhere else. He's been in so many different organizations. Why not keep doing that and kind of be like an Eddie Alvarez and win a championship in every single organization that you've been in? So I think Verdum should go somewhere else and not re-sign with the UFC. But no matter what he does, or even if he retires, he's had a great career. That was a great performance. I think Verdum, sky's the limit for him. And even though he's 42 years old, he can do whatever he wants, and the ball is in his court.
Well, that was my concern, is that there was talk of retirement, but I sincerely hope that he doesn't because, I mean, it almost makes more sense for somebody like Alexander to retire than somebody like Verdum because he's still, not only is he physically in it, but I feel he's also emotionally and mentally in it as well. So I feel like that's of more importance, obviously, when you're of that age, to carry on. Whether Alexander has that, I don't know. I can't speak for him. I hope he doesn't retire. I hope he gets out of this funk that he's been in. But Verdum, he shouldn't definitely retire. Whether it's like you said, go to Bellator, get your title fight right off the bat. And if not, stay in UFC. Whatever, I'll tune in. People like us. I mean, maybe not the more so casual fans. We're pretty casual, but I think a lot of UFC fans or mixed martial arts fans in general would tune in for any fight that he would partake in.
Any fight with Verdum. And Alexander tweeted like right after he lost. So I feel that maybe he still will come back, maybe a different weight class, and he didn't take time off or like not say anything to the media or like ignore them after.
Right.
So I feel like he'll come back. I think he kind of has a better head on him, especially after what happened. And losing to Verdum, that doesn't suck, man. That's not a horrible thing. It's Fabricio Verdum.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the best. You stepped into the heavyweight class to fight one of the best heavyweights ever. That's not a bad loss. So I think you should just take that one on the chin, carry on, go back down to light heavyweight, and we'll be good. On that main card, we had a little bit of a controversial decision where Francisco Trinaldo was fighting Herbert, and Herb Dean kind of stopped the fight a little bit too late. So Herbert was pretty much winning the whole entire fight, and about the last minute and a half, Francisco Trinaldo caught him on the head right here in the middle, and he just goes down. And he's laying on the ground, and his hands are down, and Trinaldo does not want to hit him again. Herb Dean looks at him, and he's just like, the fight is not over yet. And then Trinaldo gives him 2 more shots to the head that he probably didn't need. After the fight, Herb Dean and Dan Hardy kind of got into it because Dan Hardy felt like that fight should have been stopped as soon as Herbert went down. And they kind of argued there. There's a photo of it. There's a video of it as well. And Dan Hardy's basically telling Herb Dean, hey, you need to do your job and I'll do my job. I don't know what other words were said, but they both released videos after explaining their parts for it. I don't think Herb Dean is a bad referee. I think he's had moments to where fights should have probably been stopped. He's been working so many fights back to back to back to back to back. So that's something that I think about too. Like, do they have rest within their mind? You know, reffing a fight like that, an MMA fight is no easy job. You know, and we didn't see from his view how Herbert looked, but from the body language and him not moving his arms and him not defending himself, I think Herb Dean should have just took this one on the chin. He made a mistake, but he tried to make it seem like Dan Hardy was in the wrong and he shouldn't have like said anything. It's all up to the doctors. It's a difficult situation. But what did you think, Nick?
Yeah. Well, I mean, was it him that was actually yelling at him during the fight, or was it Bisping?
It was him. It was Dan Hardy.
It was Dan. I thought it was. I thought I had heard Bisping saying it. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of. I mean, it just that tells you everything. If somebody who's outside the ring can notice it, I don't know what
former fighter.
Former fighter as well. Like if somebody, but nonetheless, if you're watching it from a level that you're lower, right? Because you're not spectating it from the stands. You're lower, and even you see it from that. Trinaldo had looked at at Herb like, what are you doing? Like, this should be over. You could tell by the way that he was hit and the way that his arms flailed back and how he was basically rigor mortis on the ground. You know that guy's knocked out. And and the person who I actually feel really bad for in this situation was Trinaldo, because you can tell that he didn't want to give those 2 extra hits.
Hit him again, yeah.
He was literally right. He wants to get that W, but like he obviously, I guess maybe the adrenaline or something, or maybe he was checking his Instagram when he laid that first hit that knocked him out. But Herb Dean, like, it's like he's looking at him, like, dude, like, you see this guy, like, we're both in the ring, you're standing on top of him. You could tell that this guy, like it's almost like Smokey from Friday. You got knocked the fuck out.
Yeah.
and it was clear of that. But I don't know what happened. You know, actually, we were talking about this earlier today. I think about like Herb Dean, that there was another incident that I was trying to think back, and I think it was with Lawler. Wasn't it that the Lawler fight where he called the fight and Lawler was still sort of conscious?
Oh, yeah, Ben Askren and Robbie Lawler when he got him in the bulldog choke, and Robbie Lawler's kind of arm went limp, but he still was there. Like, he popped up as soon as Askren let go of the choke.
Yeah, so that's what I was trying to talk, because I know Herb Dean, obviously he's a professional, he's a veteran in this game, but that's what makes it all the more surprising, is that somebody with that stat sheet would be the one to make that mistake. And I felt it was a massive mistake. And then to try to brush it off too, you know, I felt like he should have owned up to it more because like that didn't rub me the wrong way. Like, look, we're all human. We're not perfect and everything like that. It was a massive mistake, but nonetheless, you got to own up to that mistake and you got to apologize. You got to come out clean, and you know, you can't just pretend as if what happened didn't. So, I mean, I'm kind of shocked to see somebody like that. Like I said, somebody as seasoned as Herb Dean to react. First of all, not reacting soon enough to the knockout, and then reacting that way after the criticism.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking to me because Herb Dean is usually a guy that he'll explain what happened, he explain why he made a certain decision, but he seemed maybe a little agitated by like the comments that Dan Hardy made. And Dan Hardy is a guy of the fighters. He cares about the fighters first.
Yeah.
And he sees a guy that is clearly just gun on the floor. And something had to happen earlier in the fight card before that somebody was kind of out, like out on his feet, and Herb Dean didn't stop the fight too. So this was the second one. So it just made Dan Hardy really, really upset. And he just kind of, I think he could have waited to maybe after the broadcast to talk about it. Maybe that's one thing I can agree with Herb Dean. And they can speak about it, because that doesn't need to happen during a broadcast. And Dan Hardy he does need to do his job. Herb Dean will do his job, but they can talk about that after. They know each other. He's repped Dan Hardy's fights before. That's something they can talk about. But now they're talking about it in two separate platforms, and I hope they can talk about it because this is something that can be a problem going forward in mixed martial arts. And now they're gonna look at Herb Dean as like a bad rep or something like that. And I don't want that to happen because I think Herb Dean is one of the best referees in the game. But unfortunately, that happened. I hope Herbert is okay. I'm sorry that Trinaldo had to hit him again on top, and hopefully that doesn't happen going down the road. And maybe there needs to be some rule to where the position on the side can press a button and know the fight is over, or maybe a judge press a button and know the fight is over. Something like that to stop it because that
sort
was
of like
clear. He was out. He was completely out.
Sort of maybe like a challenge play in football or VAR in soccer, where it's kind of like you have somebody who's fixated on the screen, who's not watching from a distance, like the rest of the people there in the stadium. Somebody who's just fixated on the fight, seeing the reactions on the faces of the fighters or their body language. And yeah, like you said, have a buzzard or some sort of button in case of emergency, break glass or whatever, kind of thing. But I think what's going to hurt Herb Dean in all of this is, like I said, it's more his reaction than his mistake.
Yes.
Because a lot of people are talking about like some sort of punishment or penalization for him and everything like that. And I felt that if he had come out and just been like, I'm sorry, I really did mess up, or I'm sorry, I didn't see it as clearly as everybody else did in the moment. I mean, you're in the ring with them too. So, there's a lot of things that you're looking out for. But like I said, his reaction or his overreaction, I feel, after the criticism put a big distaste in a lot of people's mouths. So I think if there is to be any punishment, it'd be more so because of that than the actual incident.
Absolutely. And I just hope Herb Dean and Dan Hardy can talk about it. They get past it. This mistake doesn't happen again. But hey, it's in the past now. So besides that penalty that happened during that card, we had a big star come out of this. Khamzat Chimaev. I hope I'm saying his name right. Khamzat Chimaev. He fought 2 weeks in a row. He was on the card last week, and he was on the card last week and on the card the week before that. He fought at 170 2 weeks ago, and then he fought at 185. Two finishes. One was in the first round, one was in the second round, and the fights were not even close. In one fight, he outstruck he outstruck McKee about 142-0, and the other fight
it's ridiculous.
162-2. These are so similar to Khabib Nurmagomedov's first couple performances in the UFC, to where he's not getting touched by anybody, and he's just completely dominating his opponents.
I mean, it's kind of hard not to get on that train, right? Like all these Dagestani fighters are, I mean, it's almost like, dare I say, the best fighters in the world come from Dagestan. So, I mean, and the proof is in the records and the style of fighting and everything. And even though it's funny because I look at people like Khabib or Zabit, and they're more down to earth. What's funny about Khamzat was that he's actually, like, you could tell he feels himself like he's cocky, and he can be, like, obviously he can back it up. Like there's never any issue with being cocky when you can back it up. Right?
Absolutely.
And clearly he can. I mean, I think when he won this last fight against McKee, I think the strikes were 43-0.
Yeah.
Like he didn't give Reese nothing, absolutely nothing before choking him out and winning. So I kind of like it. I mean, I'm excited. I do prefer more the attitude of Khabib or Zabit, but
Hmm.
I mean, if you can back it up, man, it doesn't bother me. It's kind of like with Jorge Masvidal or Conor McGregor. You know, the people that they don't like these. Even though I don't want to say that Conor McGregor is a loudmouth in the sense of promotion, whereas Jorge is just more. I don't think he's necessarily a smack talker because he's just speaking the truth. Like
That's it. What you gonna do?
he means what he says. So it's not him necessarily trying to promote it. But I'm not usually with that. I do have more respect, like I said, for people like Khabib and like Dustin Poirier and everything like that. So, but yeah, it's exciting, man. This guy, I hope he fights on the next card and the card after that and the card after
They're trying to
that.
get him a fight for UFC 251 coming up
For
on the
251,
Cormier
right?
card, and Dana White said he's gonna try to get him a fight on that card. So we'll see. But I just love his attitude to where it reminds me of Khabib, and he's just like, listen, brother. I give me 1 hour break. I come right back and I fight another guy. You can give me anybody at any time. They're just not on my level, brother. They're not on my level. Like
So
I
I
love
just,
just how they speak. Oh my
oh
God,
my
it's
God,
literally
dude,
it's.
I loved Khabib's post-fight speech after he beat Dustin Poirier, and
Mhm.
he was talking about the respect between the fighters, and he's like,
Yeah.
this bullshit guy. And then talking about McGregor, like, bro, I love his accent, and it's true. Like, it's nice to see that when the fighters, you know, obviously I've always been profoundly amazed by that. How there's these two guys or two women beating the absolute snot out of each other, and at the end of the fight, they can show respect and dignity towards one another because
Yeah.
that's the first rule before everything. And so I hope that it doesn't get to his head too fast
Hmm.
because I don't see him getting beat. Sometimes people need to get beaten to sort of humble down a bit. I didn't obviously Khabib didn't need that, and I don't feel like Zabit needed it either. So I think he's gonna keep winning, and I just hope that he just doesn't get too carried away because
Yeah.
that's when you know like it sort of goes with that whole cliche. You know, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the
This
villain.
year's. Yep.
So
I
but yeah,
think
man, I'm excited.
I just hope that they kind of give him a little bit of a slow ride and not give him somebody in the top 15 already because that's a little scary. You know, you don't want to run
Hmm.
somebody too fast or just like give him somebody that is just very highly ranked or highly skilled and has been fighting and has a lot of experience because he's only 8-0. It's not like he's like 16-0 or something like that, and he doesn't
Right.
have one of those inflated records because there's a lot of guys who come from that side of the
Hmm.
world and they have inflated records fighting guys you've never heard of before. But he's
Right.
beaten pretty good guys in the UFC so far, and give him a little bit slow grind. If he wants to fight again at 251, put him in there. I'm gonna watch it. I'm not gonna be
Yeah,
mad about that.
exactly.
But let's just kind of get him up there. He went from another thing. I know I talk about this a lot, but like after this card, he went from 32,000 followers to 400,000 followers on Instagram. So now he's getting
That's quite
popular.
a rise.
People want to watch him. People love the way he speaks. People love his confidence. They love his
Yeah.
confidence. So
Hmm.
UFC, take your time with Kazmat. We love him.
Yeah.
We don't need to rush into anything. Put him on that card again. I'll watch him again for a third time, and he'll get there. But we got a new superstar right there, Kazmat Chaimov. Remember that name.
Yeah.
Speaking of a Dagestani and Chechen people from that side, Khabib has got a fight booked.
Yeah.
Khabib will be
Finally.
taking on Justin Gaethje in October for the UFC lightweight championship. Justin Gaethje has the interim lightweight championship right now after defeating Tony Ferguson in May by fifth round TKO. Khabib has not fought since he beat Dustin Poirier back last year in Dubai, and we don't know where the fight is going to take place. I'm assuming it's going to be Fight Island because Khabib lives on that side.
Hmm.
But I'm super excited for this fight. I said there's only two people I feel who would give Khabib problems: Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje. I still feel like Tony Ferguson will give Khabib some kind of an issue, but
Hmm.
unfortunately, he didn't win his fight against Justin. But we got a guy like Justin Gaethje, who is very hard to take down. He's scrambling. He hits extremely hard. He is very tough, and he's
Yeah.
hard to
Ask
finish.
Tony how hard he hits.
Yeah, ask Tony how hard he hits. He's literally lost. He's only lost 2 fights. He came into UFC undefeated, was a champion in World Series of Fighting, and now he gets to climb to the top of the mountain and fight one of the best fighters, best combat athletes of all time, 28-0, Khabib
Hmm.
Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, you know the thing I'm excited about this fight is because I mean with every fight in this game is that everything's unpredictable. It can go either way. Obviously, probability is more I feel on Habib's side, But Justin can. I feel like he does have what it takes to perhaps finally end his reign, and to finally give him that first loss in his career. So it's going to be exciting. But what's actually got me more excited is, so I thought, first of all, I'm excited just period because I honestly thought that perhaps we might have seen the last of Khabib with the passing of his father, Abdul Manap.
Yeah.
So I was really worried about that. I think he still, out of respect, he still would have fought Justin, but yeah, it was still worrisome. And there's even talk about him. Let's say that he does beat Justin and he goes 29-0, of going for just one more fight just to get that 30-0 record before
Against
actually
who?
hanging things up.
Against who?
GSP,
Woo!
which that would be sick, but I think I prefer more so, and I'm not to say that GSP can't hang, because we know that GSP is arguably the greatest to ever have done it. And I think that he, with the right amount of time, not a Jorge Masvidal type of deal where he only had 6 days to prepare, I think with the right amount of time, the right structure, the right setting, I think that he could perform against Khabib. But at the same time, I don't want to see sort of like an Anderson Silva, John Jones type of fight where Anderson Silva came back so late, or after such a long hiatus. So my personal opinion is, as great and as sexy as GSP versus Nurmagomedov would be, I would actually prefer if, like, of course, because I don't want to jump the gun and say that Khabib is going to beat Justin. I don't want to just go there just yet.
Don't know that yet. Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want to. I think that he can. So let's say that he does. I actually would like to see him fight against Tony Ferguson if he beats Justin. I think that would be the better. I think that would be the better send off. Yes, of course. For us, it would be sexier the other for GSP and him.
Yeah,
but I think it's a better fight and a more, out of respect to the art and the both fighters and where they're at in their careers. I think that would be the best pinnacle for Khabib.
I love that Khabib says that he only has 2 more fights left because his dad said that, and that was always, he would say, father's plan. I fight 30-0, I retire after. And this is probably the perfect time. His dad is no longer here. Rest in peace, Abdul Manap, of course. And his dad always wanted him to fight GSP. And I feel like he would just keeping his promise to his dad to be one of the best fighters, to beat one of the best fighters ever, and it's just to be one of the best fighters ever.
Right.
And I feel like that would be such a good styles clash to where GSP is so good at wrestling. Khabib is so good at wrestling. It's 2 different styles of wrestling. We've never seen Khabib on his back before. Let's see George St. Pierre goes in there and takes Khabib down. That would be crazy. That would be absolutely absurd, and everybody would be so excited for that fight. You can put that fight in a stadium, maybe somewhere in Canada. You can even go to Russia, put that in a stadium somewhere, because hopefully by next year we'll be able to have people in arenas. Crossing fingers, we don't know that yet. But like, that would be amazing to see, and I love that styles clash more than the Tony Ferguson, I guess. But I still think Tony would give him a pretty good run for his money. But I don't know. I'm never gonna be sad to see GSP come back, and I feel like he's a guy.
No, of course not.
He's always training. He's always trying to improve himself. He came back after a 2-year hiatus and beat Michael Bisping for the middleweight title. This is a guy that can do anything. But my question is, what weight do they fight at? Because GSP was fighting welterweight 170. Khabib is a 155. Is there going to be a title on the line? Because I don't think George St. Pierre comes back if there's no title on the line. He's not going to take a fight just
of course not. No, this has to be a situation where Khabib defends his title against Justin, and there's a belt on the line for it. And of course, like I mentioned, GSP is definitely going to be the more romantic story, especially given how much he looks up to. How much he looked up to GSP when he was growing up and everything, and never having been able to fight him. I mean, it's almost like, dare I say, like it would be like us getting Michael Jordan versus LeBron James.
Yep.
In the sense, like, and people would love to see that. Granted, the age difference was a lot more, so we'll never be able to see that. But if we can get that in the UFC environment, it'd be fantastic, and it would be great for like you said, for Khabib because that's somebody that he's always admired, and what better way to go out than beat your hero that you always looked up to. But GSP definitely is not coming back unless there's a title on the line. I can't see Khabib going out of his comfort zone and moving up in weight. So I think it would have to be the other way around, and deservingly so, because if you are, I mean, like, granted, I know that he's a legend, GSP, but he's no longer in it. So you have to sort of adjust yourself to the reigning champion rather than the former champion.
Agreed. Agreed. So he would have to cut to 155 pounds, which would be the first time in his career. It would be a pretty big weight cut because I believe George St. Pierre says he walks around about 190, which Khabib Nurmagomedov actually walks around at that weight too. So these guys, they make big weight cuts no matter what. And I feel like they're professionals. They have good people around them to be able to get down to that weight. And I think George St. Pierre is kind of interested because they asked him about it, and he's just like, wow, what a thought to have on my mind now. Let's see how this fight goes between Justin and Khabib, and then I kind of make a decision. But I feel like George St. Pierre is such a competitive guy. You say something like that to him, it just resonates in him. He's like, oh, absolutely, I'll come back for that. I think Usman had called him out, and George St. Pierre wasn't too interested in that because I felt he wouldn't feel it's a big fight, or he feels maybe he can beat Usman and it wouldn't be too hard of a fight for him. I don't know. I'm not going to say that. I think Usman is an amazing fighter, but I hear that Habib versus GSP, and it just gets me riled up, and I need to see that fight.
Because
I see that fight.
You're gonna get a great fight. I mean, you don't want, especially after Kamar's last fight against Masvidal. You know, you did that against a guy who only had 6 days notice. That's all you could do. I mean, GSP's not gonna want to come back and fight somebody like that. He's gonna want to fight the name because right now John Jones is obviously on hiatus with his whole dispute. Conor's gone. Retired supposedly, even though he just tweeted earlier today, I
was about to bring that up.
You know, I don't know what he's accepting. Who knows? Maybe he got a free coupon at McDonald's and he's accepting it. I have no idea. But
who knows what he's it's weird. After the day after they put out the news of Habib versus Justin, all of a sudden Conor tweets, I accept.
Yeah.
He's definitely just staying relevant within the weight class, within the UFC. He does this every time. People ask me, texting me, what does he accept, Arnold? What does he accept? He's just doing that to stick around, guys. I don't think he's accepted any fight unless he's going to fight Nate Diaz. I don't think Jorge Masvidal is going to fight because Jorge Masvidal wants that title fight against Usman.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't think Conor McGregor is accepting anything. I think he's just doing that just to be relevant. Remember he retired a couple months ago? He knows what he's doing. He's smart. He tweeted that. Now everybody's watching. Now all eyes are on Conor McGregor again. So he just wants to stay relevant, guys. So I don't think he's fighting anybody. Answering that question now, I know a lot of people ask me. He's not fighting anybody. We're gonna see what happens after everything kind of just goes away. And I don't think the UFC will put him on a card that they can't have fans on. So I don't see anything.
And I don't think he'd want to be on a card where there are no fans either.
Exactly.
I mean, that's his. It's sort of like the 12th man, you know, or the 6th man, you know. That's who's driving him in those fights. I can't picture McGregor fighting in the setting where fighters have had to fight in recent cards. So, but yeah, like he's staying relevant, like you said, but nonetheless, he's out. So, going back to GSP and Nurmagomedov, I think he sees Nurmagomedov and he knows that he's the man right now in UFC, and he definitely, I think, would come back for that fight. But like I said, we can't jump to conclusions because Khabib has to get through Justin, and Justin's not gonna just roll over and play dead. Justin wants to show that, look, this isn't an interim belt. This is a championship belt that I clearly deserve. Everybody thought that I was going to lose to Tony Ferguson, and look at him after our fight. We couldn't even recognize him.
Junior just asked a question I was about to ask. If Gaethje wins, what happens? I think if Justin Gaethje beats Khabib Nurmagomedov, that is an automatic rematch. Khabib has never lost before in his career. So I feel like they would fight again. If Justin beats him a second time, boom. Maybe he'll fight Conor McGregor after that because, you know, he's gonna want that money fight. And we'll see what happens from them because there'll be some other lightweight fights. Poirier's still up there. Dan Hooker's still up there. There's a lot of guys in that top 5. So
Dan Hooker, I would love to see that.
Yeah,
I would love to see that.
There's so many good fights for Dan Hooker. I want to see Dan Hooker versus Tony Ferguson. That's a fight that I want to see. I feel like that would be such a good back and forth. Or Dustin Poirier versus Tony Ferguson. That weight class just has many good fights up top. So many. But does Khabib still go to the GSP or does he just retire? If Khabib lost that fight, I just think he gets a rematch and we'd have to see from there. I can't predict that. I hope he fights GSP, and I feel like he really wants to fight GSP. I think that if you're asking me now in this early stage, what would happen between GSP and Khabib? I say Khabib beats GSP.
Yeah, I mean, people might feel like that's far fetched, but I don't think that it is. I mean, he's undefeated for a reason. And
And
like I
how many
said,
times have we seen him in trouble?
right, exactly. And dude, Poirier was seconds away from ending his reign in
The
Abu
guillotine.
Dhabi. I mean,
Yep.
not in Abu Dhabi. Was it Abu Dhabi or was it Dubai?
Dubai.
It was in Dubai, right?
Or was it Abu Dhabi? It might be Abu Dhabi. I don't know. It's one of those places.
I say that. So, Poirier was literally seconds away from ending his undefeated streak, and he got out of it, and he came back quick, and he defeated Dustin Poirier. So, I think I don't want to say he's unbeatable, but he's definitely the hardest to beat. And I feel like that's
Absolutely.
just a general census in all of men's UFC right now, because he's I feel the Amanda Nunes of the men. That who's going to really take that from him? You know, fortunately, I mean, at least we can look at Gaethje with a little bit of hope, because and you know what? This is another thing too. If Gaethje does win, and Khabib no longer has this elusive 30-0 or at that point 29-0 record, does he retire early still then? Because now, if I already got that loss in my column, why retire now? Why not keep going? Why not get my belt back? Why not continue start a whole nother streak, right? Because I mean that loss column's already tainted. Might as well keep going.
Absolutely. And I just would love to see how GSP would look at 155 pounds, how slim he would look. It's incredible just to even think about. But speaking of people moving down in weight, we got Cody Garbrandt says that he has a contract he's got a contract in hand to fight Davidson down at 125 for the flyweight title. This came out of nowhere. We were talking about other contenders for Davidson, and now we got Cody Garbrandt coming down from 135 and says he wants to fight for the title, which the UFC doesn't have too big of an issue with, because Cody Garbrandt's a big name. You put him down there against Davidson, many people are going to watch. There's going to be a lot of eyes on that fight. And he says he walks around at the same weight as people who fight in flyweight, which is about 145 pounds. To cut down to 125, he can make the weight with no issue. I'd love to see that fight. Is it going to happen? We'll find out.
I mean, I definitely hope that it happens, because we were talking about that with Davison when he beat Joe Benavidez. That like who's up next for Davison? I mean, he looked completely unstoppable. So you get a recognized name like Cody Garbrandt, and on top of that, Cody Garbrandt could be one of these guys contending for the belt in his division as well. So why not go down a division while you wait for Peter Yan to get his belt taken away from Aljamain Sterling or whoever's going to end up fighting him. I think it'll be Sterling, but I hope so. But I don't think there's anything definitive on that just yet. But whatever. While you're waiting for the belt in your division, go down a division and fight Davison. Now, would he beat Davison? I don't know. That's a tall order.
It's a very good matchup, because you got a guy like Davidson who has clearly impeccable striking, and Cody Garbrandt has impeccable striking.
Yeah, fastest hands in the game.
Yeah, two very, very fast guys with their hands, and Cody might be even faster being lighter at 125 pounds. Yeah. And you know he's gonna carry that power no matter where he goes. So Davidson's gonna be probably maybe a little bit more timid going forward against somebody like Cody, because you know what happens when you go forward against Cody.
Yeah, exactly.
Do we remember that buzzer beater?
It's the greatest buzzer beater I've ever seen.
And we're not even
all
talking
sports.
about basketball.
And we're not even talking about basketball. Yeah,
we're not
exactly.
even talking about basketball. So I would love to see that fight. I hope it happens. I think it would give Davidson more recognition for what he's been doing, and it would be a pretty big fight. So I hope to see that happen.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like we said, who's going to come up against Davidson? You know, really, who in that division would really contend for that belt? Especially the fact that Joe is already out, because sort of like Max Holloway and Volkanovski, you've had your chance twice. You know, if it was like what we're gonna have in a couple weeks with Stipe and Daniel Cormier, you know, where you're going for that third, 1-1, that tiebreaker. But Joe is not gonna get that, unfortunately. And so why not have Cody come down and take that belt if he can?
If he can.
And Davidson's a very dynamic fighter, man.
I think they're trying to book that in like October, I believe, but we'll see if that happens. I'd be excited to watch it.
You mentioned they put that in October with Khabib and Justin.
I think that's what they're gonna do. I think that's the plan, to have two title fights on that card. I'm not confirming
Take my
anything, but
money.
that's just
Take my money.
Take my money now. I'm not confirming anything, but I think that is the plan. We're getting so many good fights this fall. We're gonna have so many good fights to watch. There's still fights every weekend up until September. We got fights this weekend. We got Edmund Shabazian taking on Derek Brunson. That's going to be a good middleweight title fight. I mean, not title fight, middleweight fight. Look at me thinking titles already, because there's just so many title fights.
Blinded by the gold.
Blinded by the gold. We have so many fights coming up on every weekend. We're still going to be here. We'll be here every Thursday. This is the first episode of this podcast, guys. We appreciate you guys for joining us tonight. This will be on SoundCloud. It will be on Spotify. It will be on iTunes. It will be everywhere that you can listen to the audio. And we appreciate you guys as always. Nick, of course, I appreciate you as well. We got the graphics going. We got everything out there. We might have some other things coming for you guys too. We'll let you know soon, though. Hope you guys
stop looking at those graphics.
You can't stop looking at the graphics, right? It's amazing. And thank you to my man, Robert Pearson, for giving us this graphic. We appreciate you so much. It's beautiful work. You guys should check him out. He does amazing work. Hope you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. We are out.
Later.